The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
In the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, we have a right to life, we have a right to defend life.
This legislation is centered on meeting the needs of Idaho families.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
The courts have long held that our ability to transfer title on real property benefits society as a whole.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
I feel like we're back to an unappointed board that gets to decide who is essential and who is non-essential.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
And for me, it's about a couple things. It's about food security, it's about national security, and it's about preserving American exceptionalism.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
My hat. Good morning, everybody. Matt Edwards here, March 21, 2024. The signal is on the air. Welcome to the program. We've got some great news to share today. We'll get into that in just a moment. Today is also March Madness, so I've got my bracket here, and I don't have the scores up on the other TV. I should, but we're not gonna have any distractions here. We're gonna move forward. The House and Senate are both at ease at the moment. Here's a live look inside the House chambers. They had just gone through their entire reading calendar, at least most of the stuff on the third reading calendar today, and they're going to be debating an appropriations bill coming up here in just a moment. Same thing over in the Senate. They started the day, they went into the amending order. Assistant Majority Leader Senator Abby Lee presided over the bills in the Senate, where they were adding amendments to the things that are on their list, and they are currently now at ease as well. None of them have been adjourned yet, so the invites that we have out today with Representative Dale Hawkins and Senator Tammy Nichols, they will hopefully both be joining us today. They are currently at ease, so you never know what could happen. But we do want to share some good news, so let's start off with that. What's the good news? The good news is House Bill 498 was signed into law by Governor Little yesterday. This is the Online Child Safety Act, and this was presented many moons ago in this session, at the beginning of the session, with Representative Elaine Price and Representative Julian Young sponsoring this bill. And we kind of wanted to go through and let you know exactly what this was all about. So let's take a trip back in time here when Representative Elaine Price and Julian Young presented the Online Child Safety Act.
Mr. Chair and Committee, I bring before you RS 31118, the Online Child Safety Act, and for the record, my name is Elaine Price, District 4, Coeur d'Alene. This legislation provides a cause of action for any person exposed to material harmful to a minor in violation of 482103, which is page 4, lines 3 through 35. These commercial entities that knowingly and intentionally publish this material shall be liable if they fail to perform reasonable age verification to verify the age of the individual. And the commercial entities is defined on page 2, line 24. The material harmful to a minor must be substantial, or 1/3 of the content that they provide. The solution we're offering falls to the content creator, leaving the third-party verification options up to these providers, and we're not mandating it by the state. We have a constitutional duty, Article 3, Section 24, to protect virtue and sobriety and promote temperance and morality. We also have our general duty to protect the vulnerable from exploitation. It is already illegal under Idaho Code to knowingly make material harmful to minors available to minors. There's a report out there that 73% of teens responded to they asked them questions, and 73% of the teens responded that age 13 to 17 that they have watched pornography online. 73% of 13 to 17-year-olds. 54 reported that they first saw it by the time they reached the age of 13. And 15% said that they saw online pornography at the age of 10 or younger. 58 said they encountered it accidentally. This legislation is placing the burden of responsibility of providing materials harmful to minors to the perpetrator of this content, not to the device manufacturing company. Other states, 6, have passed similar bills. They have withheld or withstood judicial scrutiny, and Louisiana has actually seen results where it's reduced visits to these online sites. We are just trying to provide content providers a way to self-regulate. I ask you to move to print RS 31118.
Thank you, Representative Price. Did Representative Young want to make any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Might I just add to Representative Price's comments that we are looking at this because pornography is not just a moral issue. What we're talking about is material that truly is offensive to the prevailing community standards in terms of what's appropriate, and material that has been demonstrated through science and research to be harmful to healthy development for our young people. And so for that purpose, I believe that this is entirely appropriate, and I think what we're asking here is reasonable and has worked for other states.
Okay. All right, I'm back. Apologies for that. But as we were coming out of that, I just wanted to point out how much of a pleasure it is to see citizen legislators like Representative Elaine Price, who she comes out of Coeur d'Alene. She's a mom, a small business owner, and she's a citizen like any number of us who make their way down to Boise and fight for our values and fight for our families. And her teaming up there with Julian Young on that bill is fantastic. So that was the beginning of the journey. That happened back in February. The bill passed through committee. It went to the House floor. It passed through the floor with a unanimous vote, I'm pretty sure. And then it made its way to the Senate, where its co-sponsor, Senator Ben Taves, delivered his opening debate on this bill, and I want to take a few minutes to listen to some of his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow senators. You should be getting a handout. I just want to go through that really quickly with you, and explains a very real problem that we've already discussed a bit in this chamber, but it's a problem that I believe warrants more legislative effort. Our kids are continually exposed to pornography, and our current laws don't effectively protect them. According to one study, 73% of teens ages 13 to 17 have watched pornography online. 58% of teens surveyed had stumbled upon it accidentally, and the average age of first exposure was 12 years old. So obviously it's a serious issue. If the average age is 12, we can figure that there's 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds that are accessing this content online and being exposed, and we need to figure out a way to stop that. What you have before you is an effective solution. It uses a third-party age verification as a way to block that content from children. It works on every platform, no matter whether you access the internet on a phone, a tablet, a computer. One senator said they had a internet browser on their refrigerator. Honestly, they're everywhere. For kids, it's especially prevalent on their Xboxes, on their Switch gaming systems. So this solution deals with the issue right where it's at. In most states, as you'll see on the handout, it's had bipartisan support. Arkansas, 127-0, Utah, 96-0. And it's because I think it's a common sense solution. It puts the responsibility on the content providers and publishers, and effectively protects the children wherever they're at. So I'm going to walk you through the bill really quickly. First of all, on the first page, it points out on line 34 that we already, in the Idaho Consumer Protection Act that was passed by the legislature in 1971, we already use a private cause of action to protect consumers. So building on that history, we use the same enforcement mechanism in this legislation to protect minors from pornography online. On page 2, line 33, it defines harmful to minors, which is material that the average person applying contemporary community standards would find taking the material as a whole and with respect to minors is designed to appeal to or is designed to pander to the prurient interests, and it goes on. So use what's the modified Miller test. On the next page, it explains that a substantial portion is what's required for a site to have age verification in place. Substantial portion, based on this legislation, is 1/3 of total material on the website. And so in that way, it avoids, it makes sure that it's just dealing with the sites that are publishing pornography. The next page, it goes on to explain that any commercial entity that knowingly and intentionally publishes that material, that they're going to be held liable. So they have to knowingly and intentionally do so. On line 11, it explains that the information, the identifying information that could be minors putting in their information, that information will not be retained. And then it goes on to explain that a lot of the legislation is explaining that This is the parents that are put in the driver's seat to protect their children. It's not meant to be the state. It's meant to be the parents. And the parents do have the private right of action to protect their children from this content should the publishers not have age verification in place and not take reasonable measures. Obviously, we have a big problem. I think this is at least a part of a solution to help our kids. So I urge you to support this legislation. Thank you. Debate is open.
Okay, there you have it. Glad we could revisit this and get you up to speed. It was signed into act. Yes, it was signed into law yesterday by Governor Little, and we applaud him for that. But watching these citizen legislators, I mean, all of them, Representative Young, Senator Ben Taves, Representative Elaine Price, these are folks, there they are. These are folks that just saw what was going on in our communities, talking to their own constituents, and knew, just because they have children of their own, the dangers that are out there and a way to protect kids. So we applaud these three folks for getting the job and making it hard. There was a lot of debate surrounding many other ways to deal with this problem, and it was very refreshing to see them present a bill that, as Senator Taves had pointed out, that had received unanimous support across the country and other states, but especially here in Idaho. Passing the House in a 67-0 vote, and then passing the Senate in a 33-0 vote. Some folks absent for those votes, but nonetheless, there we are. We have it. Moving on. Okay, another bill that was signed yesterday was Senate Bill 1274, and I have that bill here, I believe. That is 1274, which deals with diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what was interesting is that this bill simply stated that there shall be no requirements for a diversity statement from applicants when they are applying for as part of the admissions process. So that's good, right? We want to be able to have colleges and universities admit people based on their merits and based on their academic, performances and stuff prior. But when it comes to employment as well, in hiring practices, that there shall be no diversity statements. So that was a good first step. Unfortunately, the bigger issue is that higher education is still we are still spending tons and tons of money on this DEI stuff, and there is a bill, Senate Bill 1357, that can't get a hearing, and this bill would basically cut out tons and tons of funding for these diversity offices that are plaguing our universities, and so as that bill sits around, it looks like with only a week or two left in the session that this bill is not going to get a hearing. It hasn't even had a hearing on its own chamber, and so it has a long way to go before it would become law. And this is an issue that is that we're very concerned about when it comes to what's going on in our colleges. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll check in on the House and Senate and move forward with some more of the happenings down at the Boise Statehouse. We'll be right back.
We need to start making Idaho first, meeting the needs of Idaho families.
There's a saying in Idaho: Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The Gem State is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty for honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Okay, welcome back. I want to get you guys. Can you guys bring up the graphic of the microphone? Because I know every day we do the show, we get these complaints. We want to show you the problem here. This is Representative Megan Blanksma, and she is standing up. This was captured while she was standing up during the House chambers. And if you notice, the circle on the left is circling the microphone that she would be speaking into that would come to you and me, okay? She is not in front of the microphone. As you can see, if she was, it would be in that that circle with the dotted dash. That's where the microphone should be. And we have the levels down there below. Our tech guys, I mean, they are working on this problem all the time. And because we don't want to blow out your speakers. I even have the mic a little bit further today. You know, there's nothing more we can do except try to focus on this. So please bear with us. We apologize for this, but that is one of the problem. In fact, Representative Ehart this morning during a debate on the floor, she didn't even have her microphone up. She was just projecting in the House, and she can do that. She has a great big voice. She's a basketball coach, so she's trained her voice to be heard across the court during very loud a loud crowd during basketball games. But so when you're in the chamber, you can just speak and everybody can hear you. And if she were to have the mic, it would blow out the speakers probably in the chamber. So there's a lot going on here, and I apologize for that. We some of these clips are low, some of them are high, but trust me, we are focused on it. We don't want to distract. We want you to get it all. So. We will keep working on that. If you want to help with that, we certainly have guys. You want to bring up IdahoSignal.com? You can go to IdahoSignal.com where you can send us a message, send us any ideas that you may have, or donate, or bring over yourself to donate. In order to get us to that spot. So IdahoSignal.com is where you can do that. All right, thanks guys for bringing that up. Okay, the Senate is back in session. They are they're on House Bill 521. And this is a big bill here. So let's dip in and listen to Senator Doug Ricks. This deals with lowering our taxes, dealing with school facility funding, and this is a big topic. And this is a bill that I know for a fact has been is very, very important to a lot of the folks that are in these chambers here, always wanting to leave the session, especially during an election year, wanting to lower your taxes and dealing with school funding. So if we can, let's bring up the volume here on Doug Ricks and see if you guys. That sounds pretty good to me, guys.
To help
let's dip in
and perhaps reduce the cost of the design, make some templates. It does provide that the money is used that will be paid on this is based on average daily attendance, and it's only earmarked for buildings, not for online schools. So with that, senators, debate is open.
Is there further debate?
Mr. President,
Senator Robbie,
to debate the bill.
you have the floor.
So, senators, here we are at the end of session again with a pretty complex bill. And I do have concerns that I'm just going to raise today. My biggest concern is that it's a complicated bill that not everyone understands, and I do have concerns it violates the single subject rule. I believe it creates the tax cut that we cannot afford, and also just have concern about the unequal distribution of funding to some of our schools that need funding the most. Our facilities are in desperate need of help. No one is denying that, and I am one to speak because my high school burned down because of lack of maintenance, deferred maintenance that wasn't taken care of. And I'm one of many students in Idaho whose high school has burned down. But I just have concerns about the process and the bill in its entirety. I really want to ask each of you, do you really understand what each component of this bill does? And I imagine for most of us, the answer is no. The single subject rule in our Constitution requires us to focus on one subject and matters connected properly with each bill passed. And the legislative drafting manual states that every bill must have a golden thread, which runs through all of the amended statutes, linking them together. A golden thread. This bill covers over 24 sections of code, 24 sections, under the umbrella of taxation. And I'm concerned we're interpreting taxation to be any section of code related to any budget. When I look at our tax code, though, entitled 63, that's related to taxation, there's nothing about the State Department of Education. There's nothing about the Public Tax Commission or the Lottery Fund. These are policies.
Okay, this is Democrat Senator Ali Rabi trying to do her best to defeat this bill. She's not gonna be able to do it. She's using an argument that has been used. They use it all the time whenever there seems to be a bill like this that deals with taxation and putting money here and all this stuff. That this is dealing with more than one subject. In Idaho, a bill. The reason why there's so many bills is because each bill can only deal with one specific topic. And there was a battle back in September of 2022, I believe, where they had a tax decrease, they had a tax rebate refund, and they were sending $400 million to education. And one of the arguments there was that those are doing two different things, taxation and funding. And that argument, that ship has sailed. That argument is gone. So they're gonna lose that argument, unfortunately. But we'll keep tabs on that, and when we see a senator pop up that's going to champion this bill or explain it a little bit better, we will definitely go to that. The House is back in session, which is exciting. Like I said, they were going to go deal with another appropriation bill, 722. So let's dip in on that for a moment and see where they're at.
To debate in favor.
Gentleman has the floor. Debate the motion.
Thank you. I'm sure you all know I'm an electrician. I went through an apprenticeship. I tried university, made it a total of 6 weeks. But the apprenticeship that I was able to go through changed the future of my family's life. It made things much better for my family. It allowed me to provide a living, health care, and now I look forward to a retirement from that apprenticeship training that I received. This bill and the launch program allows for students that do not fit the university program a chance to not only improve their lives, but to improve our state. Because now as we're starting to build more in our infrastructure, we see more construction needed. This bill allows these young people to go on to learn a trade like mine as an electrician or a plumber, HVAC. So many of these are critically needed training programs so that we can fill some of the technical jobs that we're lacking in our state. So I please would ask you to give this your green light.
Okay, so this is the funding for the launch program. This is very controversial. Again, this is another big question. Is it the government's role to pay for workforce training when traditionally employers or employees would have paid for that themselves? Representative Tony Wisniewski is speaking on this, so let's dip in here.
We're seeing 17 persons in that Office of Development, Workforce Development. And now we're adding another 3. So we have a total of 20 persons in this organization that seems to be building and building. Last year, we talked about the fact that With this funding, we're giving high school graduates the ability to get $8,000 at taxpayer expense. Now, these are the kids who have their whole future available to them. They can go out and get a job for much more money, real money, in terms of inflation than you or I could have gotten at the start of our careers. I don't see why we need to burden the taxpayers with this. If the intent is really to satisfy some of the demand for in-demand jobs, it really should be essential jobs, not in-demand, because if you look at the list of in-demand jobs, cosmetologists are on there. Now, God bless you if you need to have your hair done, but we don't need to have the state pay for someone to be trained in cosmetology. But it is an in-demand job. All you need to do to find out what an in-demand job is to look in the newspapers. Anything that is required for jobs is there in the newspapers or the want ads, wherever you go to look for them. If we really want to give the education in CTE and in-demand job opportunities, we should take that money that is right now going to post-secondary funding of education and move that back down into junior high and high school so that all students, not just graduates, can take advantage of that CTE training. We're sorely in need of working back towards the apprenticeship model, as my good gentleman from 29 recommended. I urge you to vote no on this particular funding bill. Thank you.
For debate on the motion, gentleman 13.
Mr. Speaker, to vote in favor of the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to vote the motion.
This good body, we don't often get the opportunity to vote on something, a policy that we already know is going to work. The good sponsor from District 21 indicated that over 13,000 families have kids that have applied for this. The response has been overwhelming. We've got our Idaho kids ready to participate in this with important workplace and economic development jobs, on the line. Again, he gave you the percentages. We've all had a long time to look at this, but we've seen it be a success. We just need to finish the job. You've got, and that number represents over half of the seniors in the state of Idaho. From a policy standpoint, they're just waiting for us to vote green on this. They're ready to go. We've got I've heard that some even have award letters already. Some of these families, you're going to see first generation people, maybe not university, but going to programs, whether it's electricians, whatever the case may be. We had guidelines as far as, the jobs, 50 vacancies and, so on. These are in-demand jobs. These are going to keep our kids here, is the intent. And we're always about intent, is to make our Idaho kids better as far as having opportunities here that they can take advantage of. There's a lot of us that didn't grow up with a whole lot. And we've all, we've been through that. I was first generation. There's a number of you in here that are first generation college, and you understand the struggles that some of these families go through. You've got some bright, capable kids out there that have applied for this. All they need, again, is the help up, not the helping hand.
Okay. If we continue to let Kenny go here on our program, we won't be doing anything else. So we'll keep tabs on this debate. Kenny loves handing out free money. He loves handing out your money. And that's what this is about. Again, is this the proper role of government? People are very disingenuous when they say, "Oh, you don't want kids to get training?" No, I do. "Oh, you don't want kids to eat? They're starving?" No, of course we want them to eat. Is it the proper role of government? Why are we shifting everything onto government? Yesterday we played those clips of the expansion of Medicaid into allowing for 12 months of postpartum care. And you had a pro-life group, use the Bible to say and send a letter saying this is exactly what we want. We want the government to take care. Now that we're a pro-life state, now that abortion is illegal here, the government should pay for everything having to do with newborns and their mothers. I told people this when Roe v. Wade was overturned, that it's up to these pro-life groups and everybody else who champion this stuff to step up and help the mothers in need, help the babies in need. It is not up to government to do. It's not the proper role of government. Do you know how much more money I could give to charity if it wasn't spent all this way? Arguments. This is the age-old argument over and over and over again. Meanwhile, in the Senate, and we don't need to go back there right now, but meanwhile in the Senate, they're debating cutting taxes so that way you can have more money to be able to help other people and to help those less fortunate. We are commanded to help the widows and the orphans. We should. But we don't institute government to do that. Government is to protect our rights. Okay. It was and a fascinating. It was a great moment there with Representative Tony Wisniewski, who said, cosmetology is part of these in-demand careers, but I don't think we need to be paying for someone to learn how to do your hair. The state, I'm paraphrasing now. We'll get the quote. I think we want to clip that out and bring it back. That was pretty good. But we shouldn't be. The state doesn't need to be paying for someone to learn how to do hair in a salon, so that you can show up to work looking mighty fine. Okay, folks. We've got some stuff on tap. The House and Senate are in their debate mode, so that's great. Let's take a quick break. We'll check in on where we're at. I want to cover a couple of other things, and we will do so right after this.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government and what we were tasked to do.
The dictionary defines a pledge as something that you give as a sign that you'll keep a promise. As Idahoans, that's what we're looking for in our elected leaders. A sign that they'll keep their word. Talk is cheap, and so are political promises, hidden agendas, and special interests. This is why we created the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge, affirming the values Idahoans have been living by for over 100 years, inspired by the only two documents everyone has agreed to live by. So when an Idaho legislator signs our pledge, inviting voters to publicly hold them accountable, that's what we call political integrity. The pledge restores trust and honesty between voters and their legislators. It means protecting our shared values and ensuring your voice is heard in Boise. And that is priceless. Thank your legislator for having the political courage to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge. And if they haven't, it's time to ask why.
With kids as they graduate, do we give them credit cards and put money on there and say, okay, here, just be, here you go, have fun, and the rest of the people are just going to pay for it. So, but I do think this is a bad precedent to set, and I think we're going down a bad road. So with that, I'd recommend a no vote.
St. Jones, for debate on the motion. The lady from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wasn't going to get up on this.
Would you like to debate the bill?
I certainly would
The
love to.
lady would like to debate the bill. Lady has the
Yes.
floor to debate the motion.
Just really quickly, I sit, as you know, on Workforce Development Council, and we've worked very, very hard. If there were no sideboards in terms of in-demand careers, and so we took the position and went to our Department of Labor, and that's where those came from. If we need to massage that a little bit, I think that's great. But that's really not what we're doing here today. And the thing I really wanted to point out is there's about 21,000 high school seniors. In a typical year in Idaho, only 38% went on to any kind of college, any kind of training. And with this launch, that we can help give these kids that would never have gone to college. We are now, in my calculation, with 21,000 and 13,630 that have signed up, we're at about 65% of our high school seniors who are saying, I want to go on to college, and this gives me an opportunity. So I think that this is an Idaho program for Idaho kids going to Idaho schools that will get training.
Wait a
get
second.
jobs,
Wait a
and come
second.
back
Wait a
as
second here,
a
Lori.
hired-
This is about paying for their college now? We get to pay for their college? See how they shift everything, folks? And this is a Republican here, a registered Republican out of Moscow. Or actually, I think she's in Lewiston. District 6. Nonetheless, folks, this was supposed to be workforce training. And now her mind has just shifted. Oh, to be able to, there's kids that wouldn't be able to go to college, and now we get to pay for them to go to college. Do you see how this starts? If they were to told you we want to start funding kids, and they're not kids, they're adults, mind you. Okay, we need to stop calling them kids. That's my fault. But if we want to start paying for adults to go to college with our taxpayer dollars, she just let the cat out of the bag there, folks. That's what she believes this does. We're paying for kids to go to college. I'm sorry, we're paying for adults to go to college. I need a swear jar for the word kids. This is ridiculous. We're paying for adults to go to college. She let the cat out of the bag. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm telling you, folks, this is all downhill. This is all downhill. When they argued the bill that started this program last year, we have it in the opening clip of this show where Brent Crane says something. When we in the opening of the show here, he says something that deals with that. Oh, folks. Okay, she's ended her debate. Who's coming up next? Let's keep that shot up because these folks. Dale, go to Dale. Better argument.
29 talked about being in an apprenticeship program. I'm willing to bet odds that this state did not pay for said program. I've heard about truck driving students coming and knowing how to drive and being very good drivers. I'm willing to bet the state didn't pay for those programs. Traditionally, in this country and in this state, industry has apprenticeship programs. They train people the way they want them. I think this is the state engaging in something that it doesn't belong in. And we're talking about, we get to vote for something that we already see the success. We see sign-up rates. That's what we see. That's what we have right now. We've passed out applications at every high school in the state, put them in front of students and said, here's free money, just like the gentleman from 14 talked about, and students signed them. But that doesn't indicate a successful program. The only way we're going to ever know that is 1 or 2 or 3 years down the road from now. So to call it a successful program, I think is a little bit maybe out over our skis. What we're doing is we're taking taxpayer money and handing it out where industry has normally done this. And I think I heard from the gentleman from 14, in a lot of the industries, they're waiting for the people. Come, they'll train them. But we've created an atmosphere of handouts, and we're going further down that road. And I just do not think that this is the proper role of government. I will definitely be a no. Thank you.
Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 33.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate in favor of the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to debate.
I work in a teen center, and some of those young people, it's the first time they've ever had an opportunity to go beyond and experience higher education in any form. It's really interesting to watch. This year, there was a couple kids. We don't have a ton of seniors, but when we do, there's usually 2 or 3 a year that are graduating. They applied for that funding, and they knew I was a part of that. And they came in, regardless of how you feel about the policy that we passed last year. This piece is the funding piece. Those kids came in my office, and they said to me, I got the scholarship. And then I was like, oh, that's awesome. How much did you get? And they would share their excitement. Then the next month they came to me and said, not only did I get the scholarship, I got accepted to go to this college. And they pointed out which college they got accepted to. These were first generation kids. It's going to change the trajectory of their future and their children's future. And every generation after that, just like when I went to school, I was a first generation.
Okay. Who wouldn't react to free money? Who wouldn't react to being accepted by getting free money from the government to go to a school, to go to college? Of course you're going to react that way. But is that what we're doing as a society? We're just collecting everybody's money and now we're just going to give it away when you have corporations who have traditionally been the ones to fund a training program for their employees. I'm sorry. I just and I know I'm not the only one because we have some great folks standing up in the well there talking about this issue. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. What this bill is going to do, folks, is fund the launch program. Okay, this is what they passed the program last year, and now they're looking to fund it. And so so we're going to keep tabs on this as they move forward. Okay. I wanted to get to a couple things. Let's do the let's save the Rumble thing for later. But our organization sent out a flyer, and if we have this flyer up, I'll give you guys a second there. Oh, look, you're on the ball. You're on the ball. Connecting with the media. Okay, now this we are all about signal here, right? Cutting through the noise. And one of the things that you can do is write a letter to the editor. It may seem antiquated that we would still be writing letters to the editor and getting them published in the paper. But I'm telling you folks, these newspapers still have a huge influence over our communities. And many people still only read the newspaper. They have their routine. They've been doing it for years. Many of them are older than me, and they read the newspaper. And we can't abandon this avenue of communication. And so this here, and we will post it on our social media so that way you can have a copy for yourself, is just a select few media outlets across Idaho, or in the instance of up north with the Spokesman Review there, being that that's a Washington-based paper, it's still widely read in the north. That being said, these are the ways to contact these news outlets and send in your letter. Some of these outlets may have a policy about who they publish, but nonetheless, the more people send the letters, the more they will understand that the community wants to hear your voice. I don't know how many times you've opened up the paper and been disgusted with letters from your neighbors or ideas being propagated by the reporters themselves or opinion pieces, but we can't give this up. And so you can call to find out exactly who to send your letter to. There's some of these have direct websites and online forms. Others, it's just an email. But I encourage you, and we're going to post this on our social media after the show. And you need to get on board. If you are a letter writing person, this is what we need to do. So we're making this available to you. Please spread it around and take note. Okay. Two hot bills going on right now dealing with our money. One is 722 over in the House that they are currently debating. This would fund the launch program and just hand out free money. Over in the Senate, House Bill 521, which would lower taxes, is also being debated. It also deals with school facility funding. Let's tune into the Senate if you have it, guys. And see how that's going. This is a fun day. It's a fun day watching these two bills go back and forth.
This funding is going around to the schools. Think of the school as a community house. And the community that it serves are the residents of this house. And in my mind, the richest communities benefit the most, and they're the ones that need it the least. So it was mentioned before about other school districts. So we have, for instance, I'm not going to pick any particular, but we have a very rich school district that has a very good ability to bond money. and has access to the funds. Yes, it's a much bigger house. It's a 6,000 square foot house. But they're bringing in, I'm just making up numbers here, $1 million a year to be able to work on their house. Then you have another house that's maybe 850 square feet. It's got a leaky roof, and that community only makes $10,000 to fix the house. Who's this helping? The 6,000 square foot house. They're going to get a lot more money that they don't need. Some might argue that that's unfair. Some might argue that's the way it is because there's more schools in this area. I understand both those arguments. My school district does pretty well in this bill with money coming from it, but and don't get me wrong, we need it. All the schools need it. I doubt there's too many schools around here that aren't falling apart, hurting some way, shape, or form. Valley View School District of mine has a sewage problem itself. They just got to dig up the floor in the middle of the building through several classrooms and other rooms to go through, which is going to cost a lot. And for the first time, they were able to pass upon. One of the biggest issues I have, and once again, Senator from 22 hit on it, academic performance. I can only speak to my district. I represent my district. I can only speak to my district. But my district is made up of 60. These are numbers I'm pulling off of usnews.com. Mr. President, with permission, I'd like to share these numbers. Oh, I was asked for permission to be able to share the numbers from the stats from usnews.com. Sorry. I'm going to be asking from, one's from the State Department of Education in Idaho, but the other one with the statistics are a little more together, is from usnews.com, Education K-12 Idaho School Districts, Caldwell School District. Thank you. My school district is 60.4% below the poverty line. And we are 62.5% Hispanic. So my kids fall into probably the largest minority and the largest financial group for being against them. Because historically, these demographics don't do as well. Well, we spend, our student to teacher ratio is 16-1, 18-1 is the state average. But what I'd like to hit at is the test scores. So the ISAT, and I understand there's different ways of measuring proficiency and academic achievement, but I think this is pretty telling. English language, arts, and literacy is only an average of 34.7%, way below the state average. Mathematics, 20.3%. This has come from the Idaho State Board of Education. Science, 23.0%. Reading indicator, we did a little bit better from 2022 to 2023. We went from 39.1% to 53.5%. ISAT tests are pretty much the same numbers, but to give you an idea, English language arts literacy, like I said, 34.7%. The state's at 52%. Mathematics, we're at 20. The state's at 41. Science, 23.
Okay, nothing like stats being broadcast live over the air. We're gonna dip in over to the House. I believe the vote here is close. They're getting close to voting on the funding of the launch program, and so let's rejoin that and see where they're at.
Thank you.
Third debate on the motion. Gentleman 12.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you. Good body. I was just sitting here thinking, as I was listening to the debate, we heard about cosmetology, electricians, truck drivers. There's a program already in place that costs the state of Idaho nothing, where you can get your college paid for, you can become a truck driver, you can become an electrician, and you can go on to do great things like fly helicopters and learn how to drive tanks. That's called the Idaho Army National Guard. And you can join for free. and sign a 6-year contract. They'll pay for your college. You'll get life skills. You'll learn Army values. You'll go on to do great things and have confidence that you didn't have before. And they'll pay for that degree, and it won't cost the state of Idaho anything. There's programs available like that we should look at, as opposed to spending dollars from our state that we could be using in other places. When they already exist, don't go and recreate something. It's a great program. I stand behind it. I'm a graduate, and that's how I got my bachelor's degree, is I did the Idaho Army National Guard, and they paid for 100% of it. And there's great things out there available to our young kids today, and we just need to push that. And I'd rather us put money into that and promote that. It costs us far less to do that than it would be to promote a program like this. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 31.
To debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'll listen this time, good gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to talk a little bit about the bill, and I think we've mentioned it before, but if you look on your statement of purpose and you follow down where on the line items, you'll see in the top of that bill, of the SOP, it says DED.
Okay, Representative Rod Furness is going to continue to defend this bill using a document that we don't have to look at to follow along. So we're just going to move along here. Okay, well, I want to apologize. We obviously can't get Dale Hawkins live here, but we did have him on here, and Senator Tammy Nichols is still in the Senate debating, listening to Senator Chris Trakel talk about the bill that's over there. So we will try again tomorrow, as we always like to do. But hopefully you've been following along here, and you know that the big news today was last night, Governor Little signed House Bill 498, the Online Child Protection Act, or whatever name it goes by. And just to be clear on what this does, this doesn't ban anything. This doesn't prevent this. This isn't an attack on free speech. This isn't anything other than taking the requirements that. Let's say I don't want to use the term library, but taking the requirements that like a convenience store would have, or a video store would have, if they have pornographic material that they are making available for purchase, or whatever the case may be, that they verify your age, that they check ID and make sure that they are giving this material to an adult. And so with the online content these days being so readily available and so easily accessed by children, that we are taking those same practices and putting it online with House Bill 498 and saying to those providers, if you're going to offer this, you need to figure out a way to check ID. And just like the convenience store can't store that data and use it somewhere else, you need to check ID and then let that information go, and either deny or confirm the age of the consumer. And so if they don't do that, then parents who are trying to protect their children from this stuff have a cause of action. They now have a way to go through court to say, hey, you didn't do this. Your website doesn't do this. And therefore, I'm going to take action against you. The state has nothing to do with it. The state has nothing to do with it other than to say, hey, if you're going to put this stuff in here, you have to check. You have to check. It's on you to check. And that is completely reasonable. We know how reasonable this is because it passed unanimously in the House. It passed in the Senate, and the governor signed it last night. So fantastic. We are going to see this implemented and move forward. So we congratulate that. Folks, over on Rumble, we have a Rumble channel. And we like Rumble because they don't censor, they don't ban stuff. But this is great. You can see our Rumble channel there. What we do is we'll take clips from the program, we'll take segments from the program, create shareable clips that are up there so that you don't have to watch the entire hour if you don't have time or if you don't want to share something. There's nothing worse than someone sharing a video and saying, you got to watch this, and it's an hour long or 2 hours long. But here, if you just want to share a quick segment on something that happened on the program, hopefully we've clipped out moments that work for you, and And over on our Rumble channel is where you'll find a lot of that stuff. We're also on YouTube and Facebook and that sort of jam. But please head over to the Idaho Signal channel on Rumble. Click the follow button. Click the little bell so that you know when we go live, so that way you can join us live, or at least know that we have clips available for you. I get emails telling me, hey, a new clip is available. So if you sign up on Rumble, it's just like signing up on actually, it's not like signing up on YouTube, because you don't have to give over a ton of information. This is a great website, and you'll find a lot of different content on there. I watch what do I watch? Tech Ball. I think Tech Ball's on Rumble. If you guys don't know Tech Ball, you got to check it out. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, all right, folks, follow Idaho Signal on Rumble. Come back tomorrow. It'll be Friday. Today's the first day of spring, which means second winter is coming to Idaho soon. So enjoy today and the next few days while it lasts. Thank you again for joining us. We'll keep tabs on those two bills and update you on social media. We're over on X, we're on Facebook and YouTube and all that jazz. Support us over at idahosignal.com, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.